Hello everyone, welcome to RPTV Weekly News Show. My name is Fred Alvarado and my co-hosts are Jabin, Victoria, and today we welcome Radhia. Hi Radhia.
Hi.
We present news that impacts on Regent Park and the surrounding areas.
In this episode, we present the following news for the week of May 20th to May 26th. SDP nominates its representatives to the Community Building Oversight Working Group. SDP Funding Committee releases its report on the review of the city's $500K funding. Report on May 18th, all candidates meeting Toronto Centre 2022. Housing affordability, key issue for Ontario voters in June 2nd election. New park coming to River Street area in 2024. Cabbagetown South residents hire weekend guards. City of Toronto announces racialized youth employment partnership with Desjardins. Toronto's Regent Park singer-songwriter Mustafa wins Alternative Album of the Year Juno Awards 2022. 2 men seriously injured after stabbing near Moss Park. COVID-19 and vaccination update, events and jobs in Regent Park community.
SDP nominates its representatives to the Community Building Oversight Working Group. The Regent Park Social Development Plan is a community-wide initiative aimed at building social cohesion and inclusion. The plan revolves around 4 priority areas, each represented by a working committee. The 4 working groups are communication, safety, community building, and employment and economic development. The body tasked with coordinating the 4 working groups is the SDP Planning Committee. The committee comprises of all the other members of the working groups. The April 28, 2022 meeting of the SDP Planning Committee, facilitated by Ibrahim Afra, was devoted entirely to the selection of 4 SDP representatives to the Community Building Oversight Working Group, currently in development. The Community Building Oversight Working Group is a newly formed body that will be comprised of representatives of TCHC tenant residents, market residents, grassroots groups, and organizations. The new body is mandated with the task of assisting TCHC and the Regent Park community in deciding how Tridell's $26.8 million in community benefits will be spent. Tridell Builders is TCHC development partner for Phase 4 and 5 of the Regent Park redevelopment. The $26.8 million was pledged by Tridell to the community as part of their winning bid for developing the final phase of Regent Park. As the Community Building Oversight Working Group will closely function under the umbrella of the SDP, it was decided that the SDP Planning Committee will contribute 4 individual members, 1 from each of the 4 SDP working group, and 2 organization representatives of the body. In a process requiring all the nominees to prepare a short brief on why they wanted to serve on the body, followed by a voting poll, the SDP Planning Committee selected the following members and organizations. The 2 organization representatives that were selected were the Regent Park Community Health Center and Yonge Street Mission. The 2 SDP representatives are Walid Kogali Ali, representing Community Building Working Group, and Lisette Casol from the Safety Committee Working Group. The SDP is still seeking 2 market residents. Congratulations to everyone that was selected. For more information on the Community Benefits Oversight Working Group, please contact William Mendez, Director of Program Delivery at TCHC, at william.mendez@torontohousing.ca.
SDP Funding Committee releases its report on the review of the city's $500K funding. The May 12, 2022 meeting of the SDP Planning Committee was chaired by Walid Kogali. The main issue that was discussed was a report from the SDP Funding Committee on the recommendations related to the STB's internal review of the annual $500,000 STB funding. The report was facilitated by Donis Huggins and highlights 22 recommendations related to changes that the Funding Committee feels should be made to the fund. Among the main findings of the report were a recommendation to conduct more outreach to bring residents and groups into the STB, a recommendation to clarify the purpose of the fund to ensure that it goes to resourcing the priorities set by the STB as defined by the working groups, a recommendation to support local decision-making among the working groups by allocating $100,000 in funding directly to each of the 4 working groups and use the remaining $100,000 to fund emerging needs to gap as identified by the SDP Planning Committee. All 22 of the recommendations were reviewed and passed on May 19, 2022 of the SDP Planning Committee. It is hoped that the recommendations will feed into the city's own review of the SDP funding. For a full copy of the report, please contact Adonis Huggins or Mahadir Khan, the SDP Administrative Coordinator, stb.regentpark@gmail.com.
Report on May 18th, All Candidates Meeting, Toronto Centre 2022. In Regent Park, a community that is in the process of a massive transformation from Canada's largest social housing complex to a mixed-income/mixed-use neighbourhood, the outcome of elections, be they municipal, provincial, or federal, is of profound interest to area residents. On Wednesday, May 18, 2022, the Community Civic Engagement Collaborative organized an all-candidates meeting held at the Daniel Spectrum, 585 Dundas Street, East Toronto, to share their respective party platforms regarding the key issues facing the Toronto Centre riding, which includes Moss Park, Regent Park, Cabbagetown, Church Wellesley Village, and St. Jamestown. The meeting was moderated by Ina Labushang and Walid Kogali. The three parties were represented by Nikki Ward, Green Party, David Morris, Liberal Party, Kristen Wong Tam, NDP. The Conservative Party candidate did not attend. Candidates were asked to respond 4 major themes: employment, housing, environment, and income security. On the issue of employment, the central concerns are better working conditions. As in the 10 permanent days of employer-paid sick days, the $20 per hour minimum age, changing laws to ensure worker rights are protected in areas such as misclassification, firing, wage parity between contracts, part-time and full-time, or other areas. In the riding of Toronto Centre, where many residents identify as low income, housing is a vital concern. Candidates were asked what they would do to provide safe, affordable, and stable housing for people who live at various income levels, including the lowest income. Additionally, and more specifically, area residents are interested in rent geared to income, portable housing benefits, and rent-to-own models.
My view, and I've knocked on thousands of doors in this campaign, there is no greater issue facing this riding than affordability of housing. It is creating so much pressure on families. It is creating challenges around homelessness in this community. And I think absolutely this should be the top thing you look at when making your decision about who to vote for. And I am incredibly proud of our plan as the Ontario Liberal team. I actually worked on it myself. I was one of Stephen Del Duca's housing advisors. And it is, I think, one of the most comprehensive plans. But speaking to specifically some of the issues that you've brought up, we are committed to setting up a legal framework for rent-to-own here in this province to make that a reality. Today in Regent Park, only 17 families have successfully entered into the rent-to-own program, which I think is like an absolute shame that we haven't seen more. We also have not, we're seeing phases 4 and 5 come with 1,000 more units than what we were expecting, but no more RGI units. What we are planning on doing as the Ontario Liberal Party is setting up an Ontario Home Building Corporation with a budget of $15 billion over 10 years that will build 133,000 affordable, deeply affordable homes for this province. And that is another plank in our plan that I'm very thrilled with.
Obviously, the New Democratic Party, and I'm actually really deeply personally connected to this because I grew up in social housing. Like, these are the buildings I grew up in. I was a tenant of social housing. So we want to be able to build housing across Ontario and build across the spectrum. But when it comes to the deeply affordable housing, the New Democratic Party, our platform is very clear. We lay out 311,000 portable subsidies that will allow people to take them where they need to go so that they can choose to live independently, and that is critically important. It's going to keep people from falling into homelessness, but also give people a chance to rise and go onto the pathway to independent recovery. The New Democratic Party is also going to be building 250,000 new units across 10 years, and this is critical because this actually wipes out the social housing wait list of RGI units as well as non-market units, and that is a commitment of the party that's going to go back into building public housing, which of course has been abandoned by the provincial governments now for decades.
The biggest landlord in Toronto is Toronto. That stock in trade is being mismanaged. On a local level, we've got to fix that by a variety of methods. But at the provincial level and with the Greens, we've got a clear plan to introduce what we call participatory housing. That means cooperative housing. That is kind of like a rent-to-own model. It's not quite the same, but you are a member. I'm a member of City Park Co-op. It's an amazing way of rapidly bringing in lower-income housing right now, taking the stock in trade that the City of Toronto can now not adequately manage and turning it over to co-op use. That's an immediate fix, not a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year fix. We're still waiting for the original rent-to-gear income housing in this very neighborhood to be replaced. We've got 5,500 condos, but we still haven't replaced the 2,000 RGTI spaces. That's mismatched priorities to me.
On the subject of the environment, candidates responded more on what their parties plan to do in a general sense, and less at what the parties plan to do locally. The final question to the candidates was, what will you and your party do to ensure all Ontarians have income security, such as the $500 weekly minimum benefit for all, including the recipients of the Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support Program, universal basic income, basic support for seniors, and other programs that indirectly improve Ontarians' income security?
I think it's critical for us to recognize that the social safety net as we know it is broken. The ODSP rates, the Ontario Works rates is far too low. It's legislative poverty. And what we've seen is governments actually not tinker with it. They haven't even thought about reforming it. And only during the election time have they started talking about doing something about it. The NDP platform includes doubling the rates of OW and ODSP in its second year and indexing it to the rate of inflation and also giving it an immediate 20% boost. This will remove people out of poverty once and for all. We will plan to do that as soon as possible. The other thing when it comes to providing supports for seniors, we've seen seniors languish in many of their homes. We've seen them suffer in the mismanaged pandemic, especially when it comes to long-term care. 4,000 seniors have died during the pandemic. And they've died without the adequate number of personal support workers or registered nurses, and the NDP is planning to hire 10,000 PSWs and 60,000 nurses because we need to make sure that our seniors and anybody else who needs basic care is going to have what they need so they can age properly in place. This is not just a small tinkering. We're not just thinking out of the box. The NDP is smashing the box. We're planning to start all over, and that's what our communities need here, especially in Toronto Centre. We've seen it. You've seen it. Everybody is struggling, and that's how we're going to fix it.
And I also know that it is the Green Party that is going to double ODSP. I think you may want to re-examine the numbers there. We are talking about an overhaul of a system that is utterly broken. And again, we've figured out how to pay for it. Making disability payments or social assistance payments based on the lowest common denominator is just wrong. It's wrong thinking. Putting everybody at or below the poverty line is the opposite of a rising tide. It's a lowering tide. We're looking at the low income cutoff, which is another magic number which brings everybody up to the right standard of living. How do we pay for that? Well, OW, ODSP, the Trillium benefit are all managed entirely separately and entirely wastefully. Our commitment is to double ODSP. And by the way, in government, we've already managed to convince Doug Ford that it's a good idea to move it in one particular direction. Not far enough, admittedly, but it shows you how we punch above our weight. I know that I was at a debate last night, and I encourage you to look it up because we went into this in much greater detail. But talking about disability income in terms of poverty is wrong thinking. It's not a poverty issue, it's a survival issue. And it has to change now. Not 5 years, not 20%, now.
We, as the Ontario Liberal Party, are definitely looking at rate increases as well. They are 20%, which the NDP came out with initially, have recently moved to matching the Green Party's position.
That's a good idea.
And I want to say very clearly that we are not done. I am not done, personally, as your representative, if I go on to be elected, in talking about rate increases. I will not rest on that number. But what I will say is that also you look at our package that we are offering in this election globally. $1 a fare transit, including Wheel-Trans, taking the HST off the cost of prepared foods, investing in deeply affordable housing. There are other actions that we are committing to in this election that will make a difference and a positive impact for those folks that are on ODSP and Ontario Works. For seniors, we're going to increase their pensions by $1,000 per year in their OAS for those seniors that need it the most. And we are providing a home care guarantee that if you want home care first, that is what you should have. It is the largest investment in home care in Ontario's history that we are putting forward. We are hiring 100,000 healthcare workers as part of this plan, and we're going to pay our PSWs $25 an hour to thank them for the great work that they do every day.
Housing affordability, key issue for Ontario voters in June 2nd election. Housing affordability in Ontario is a key issue atop voters' minds in the upcoming June 2nd provincial election. House prices and rents in Ontario have become more unaffordable in the past 2 years than in any other recent 2-year period anywhere in the country, according to a new report from Generation Squeeze. During the first 2 years of the pandemic, the Ontario government presided over the worst erosion of housing affordability witnessed by any Canadian province over a 2-year period in the last half-century. The report says, housing affordability is a major issue in Ontario's ongoing election campaign, with the pain most acutely felt among younger voters, who also face stagnant wages and pandemic-induced job insecurity. Let this election be the moment that Ontarians decide to fix the dysfunctional housing system, charting a path to restore affordability for all. The June election is a critical moment because the party platforms will shape the budgets and policies of the next government. We all have a role to play, including by casting votes for the parties that offer platforms that best align with the comprehensive policy framework. The report says, the Ford government seeking re-election on June 2nd removed rent control early in its first term and released a housing plan in early April focused on speeding up municipal's approval of housing developments. That plan ignored the recommendation of its own task force, which included setting a target of 1.5 million new homes built in Ontario over the next decade, double the current pace of construction and more density in neighborhoods with single-family homes. The NDP has promised to build 250,000 affordable housing units, make it harder to renovate a tenant and hit that 1.5 million home target, as did the Liberals, who also say they will ban new non-resident home ownership, tax empty homes, and bring in province-wide rent control. The Green promises to spend $5 billion over 10 years for a green building program and to build 100,000 affordable rental units.
New park coming to River Street area in 2024. A new park is coming to 1 DeFry Street, expected to open in 2024 as part of a residential development project at DeFry Street, just east of River Street and Shooter Street between Mark Street and Labatt Avenue. The new park at 1 DeFry Street will be about the size of a basketball court. A portion of the park will be located on the existing Labatt Avenue and will be part of a residential development. The park will be accessible and include various amenities and seating areas. A dogs off-leash area will not be included in the design due to the park's limited size. The park design will evolve through consultation with nearby schools, area residents, and the general public in order to design a space that meets the needs of the growing community. If you have ideas for this new park, take the online survey to share your thoughts. The design team will use the community feedback to help develop design options for the new park. The survey closes on May 27th, 2022.
Cabbagetown South residents hire weekend guards, as reported on the Bridge local newspaper by Elspeth Shammers. Residents in the Cabbagetown South neighborhood had hired private security to conduct weekly patrols. On Friday and Saturday nights, guards will walk the neighborhood from Shooter to Carlton and Sherbourne to Parliament and report suspicious activity to the police. Private security was first used in Cabbagetown South in November of 2020 when fellow residents of the area from Sherbourne to Parliament and Shooter to Gerrard hired Primary Defence Corp, a Mississauga-based security company. Their neighbors north of Gerrard decided to follow suit, and the patrol area has since expanded. The decision was announced in an email to Mayor John Tory, local councillor Kristen Wong Tam, Toronto's police chief, and the MP and MPP for Toronto Centre. Writing on behalf of the Cabbagetown South residents, John V. Ryder said the move felt necessary to deal with the neighborhood's rapid increase in crime. We have noticed in the past few years that the levels of crime have increased significantly, Ryder wrote in his email. While these are regularly reported to the police, they are unable to provide adequate protection. Last December, former Ward 13 councillor Kristen Wong Tam made a similar statement. I am sympathetic to residents who have been in safety and the perception of safety eroded in Cabbagetown South and Moss Park over the last year, she wrote. One triggering incident was when a man entered the home of an elderly woman living alone. She only got him out by saying her husband was going to be back any minute, says Ryder, who shared several similar stories of substance abuse and risky behavior he's witnessed in an interview with The Bridge. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated problems of homelessness, addiction, mental health, and crime in the downtown core. The City of Toronto recognizes the downtown east is home to many vulnerable people coping with substance use, homelessness, and mental health complications. Police have 8 dedicated neighborhood community officers patrolling Cabbagetown South and Moss Park, the highest level of dedicated neighborhood policing in Toronto, according to Councillor Wong Tam. Ward 13 is the only Toronto ward with an NCO program in every neighborhood, but there are only 4 officers patrolling at a time in Moss Park and Cabbagetown, meaning plenty of missed opportunities. Ryder was disappointed in official responses to his email. I got the canned emails back from the police, the mayor's office, the councillor's office. It's only going to get worse without any discussion. The Cabbagetown South residents felt forced to come up with their own solution, he said. Ryder agrees that private security is not a long-term solution. We want our real police force to be going through the neighborhood and making sure everybody is living happily together, Ryder said to the Bridge local newspaper.
City of Toronto announces racialized youth employment partnership with Desjardins. City of Toronto announced a new partnership with Desjardins that will provide a one-time $300,000 contribution to support Toronto youth, particularly Black, Indigenous, and racialized youth through employment, workforce development pathways training, and a financial literacy initiative. The allocation of $300,000 will support the development of 2 pilot initiatives and allow one existing program to expand its support of racialized youth 16 to 29 years of age. Desjardins Youth TO employment funding will increase opportunities for Toronto's vulnerable youth populations who are experiencing high levels of unemployment and have been pushed away from the labor market. A motion for this funding was approved by City Council in December 2021. The Youth Pilot Initiative is in partnership with Toronto Community Housing Corporation, TCHC, and is scheduled to begin in late summer 2022.
Toronto's Regent Park singer-songwriter Mustafa wins Alternative Album of the Year Juno Awards 2022. At last weekend, Juno's Award 2022, Regent Park community singer-songwriter Mustafa the Poet won the award for Alternative Album of the Year. Mustafa's 2021 debut album, When Smoke Rises, is a meditation on the grief he experienced after losing several friends to gun violence. At the event, Mustafa said backstage, "I am because of Regent Park. I am nothing without my community." He told media backstage after accepting the award on opening night. "Every experience, every death, every building that was buried, every argument, It shaped me, and it shaped the way that I write, and it's the reason that I write. At Sunday's Juno Award broadcast, he went a step further to bring visibility to Regent Park, pulling up to the red carpet with an entourage of friends from his area, including rapper Lil Barrett. Later that evening, for his rendition of Stay Alive, those close confidants joined Mustafa on stage to sing the final chorus of the song with him, smiling and slinging their arms around one another. It was a touching, soul-stirring moment, a moment when Regent Park and the many communities like it could feel seen by the rest of Canada. For me, Regent Park was an island, and I wanted to beautify that island as best as I could, and eventually that beauty became a bridge for me. It became a bridge for every other world, and I was starting to carry that universe with me wherever I went, Mustafa said backstage. Ironically, Mustafa was wearing some armor of his own on Sunday, a custom-made vest with the word poet stitched across the chest. The singer-songwriter who is Muslim, and he feels Islam is in a vulnerable place, with those who practice it seen and portrayed as perpetrators rather than victims of violence. As a producer, the Toronto-born artist has made a name for himself in Canada and beyond, working with internationally successful pop artists like The Weeknd, Camila Cabello, and Usher. Mustafa has described his debut album, When Smoke Rises, as inner-city folk music, inspired by Canada's singer-storyteller greats, Leonard Cohen, Neil Young, and Johnny Mitchell. He tried to meld their poetic sense for songwriting with his community's unexplored narrative.
None of them will be yours or mine, but I'll be your empire. Just stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. I wrote a record on death. I wrote a record on loss, on the loss of friends in Regent Park. And I had to do it because as they were breaking down my community, I realized in that moment that the only people that were going to be able to document the memories of my friends were the people that knew them. I watched Canadian publications announce the deaths of my friends using mugshots, descriptors being dated criminal records, and I knew then that I had to rewrite their memories. I'm not going to speak about how I'm the first Black Muslim to get this award. I think that being the first of anything should now be critiqued more than celebrated. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Ali's mom who's here with me today. I hope I did justice to the memory of your son. I want to thank Mattis who helped take this project where it needed to go. I want to thank Young. I want to thank my mother and my father. And I want to send a prayer to all of the young people who passed by way of violence, who passed without any retribution or reason. And I hope that we can continue to dismantle the state-sanctioned violence, the systemic violence in all of our communities. And I hope that Canada actively tries to pull it from the ground, because I feel like Canadian systems are constantly trying to bury the horrors of what those systems are doing to our communities. Thank you guys so much, man.
2 men seriously injured after 7 near Moss Park. Toronto police are investigating after 2 men were stabbed near Moss Park early Saturday morning on April 30th. At around 7:20 a.m., police responded to a stabbing in the area of Shelbourne and Dundas Street. Officers located 2 men with stab wounds, and they were transported to hospital with serious injuries. Police say 2 men were in custody. Anyone with information or dash camera footage is being asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers anonymously.
COVID-19 and vaccination clinic update. And now with vaccination clinics in the neighborhood. Regent Park Vaccination Clinic opens on Tuesdays from 3 to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 9:30 to 12:30 p.m. at Oak Street. Appointments are strongly recommended. Walk-ins are accepted until vaccine supplies last, but both Moderna and Pfizer vaccines are available. For more information, please visit regentparkchc.org COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic. The 519 Weekly COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic every Wednesday until May 25 from 3 to 6 p.m. at 519 Church Street for ages 12 plus. Moderna and Pfizer are available. Ontario Health Card is not necessary. First, second, third, and fourth doses are available for those eligible. First come, first served. If you have questions, please contact community@the519.org. Sherburne's Health Wellness Clinic at 333 Sherburne Street is offering COVID-19 vaccine, cancer screening, mental health counseling, harm reduction supplies, and more on May 28th from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Events and jobs in the neighborhood.
The Neighborhood Pods TO is inviting you to join a virtual community discussion on dismantling white supremacy and education happening on Thursday, May 26 from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. This discussion will bring together folks who are currently working to name, confront, and dismantle the various manifestations of white supremacy in the education system. Each speaker will share the work they are doing and their experiences with white supremacy in the education system. Guest speakers include Masquancinque Agni, Debbie King, Deborah Buchanan-Walford, Miranda Black. The conversation will be followed by a workshop focused on bringing together Black, Indigenous, and youth of color. The objective of this workshop is to connect BIPOC youth and provide a space to share their experiences, insights, and visions for the future. Please register at the link below. Are you interested in storytelling? The Center of Learning and Development and Mothers of Peace invites you to Storytelling Series Cultural Diversity. You will be able to tell your story, reflect, and understand about why cultural diversity matters. What are the challenges to cultural diversity? How do you overcome cultural conflict? And the benefits of cultural diversity. This will take place on May 26, 2022 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. via Zoom. You can register online at the link below. Daniels TCHC and Community Safety Partners brings you the Regent Park Summer Safety Jam. This event will take place on June 4, 2022 from 12 to 5 p.m. At the Big Park. You will enjoy scheduled activities such as Halal BBQ from 12 to 3 p.m. and pizza from 3 to 5 p.m. Cricket, demo on the athletic grounds from 1 to 3 p.m. Neighborhood tours from 1 to 4 p.m. This event will feature greening your community's square circle, demos, art activities by Benny Bang, bouncy castles, free popcorn and snacks, bazaar, DJ, and live performances, and employment opportunities. Hope to see you there. Come get your bike tuned up with TCBC. Join this spring bike tune-up event on May 28th at the Regent Park Ring Athletic Grounds next to the soccer field from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can get free air, oil, and minor adjustments and advice. This event is brought you by Bike Chain, Bike Sauce, Bike Pirates, Charlie's Free Wheels, and Gateway Bike Hub. Summer Camp for Children is here. Academic Sports Enrichment invites boys and girls ages 9 to 14 to summer camp from July 4 to August 19, 2022 from 9 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Lord Dufferin School, 350 Parliament Street. It's only $50 for the whole 7 weeks summer camp. You will enjoy weekly trips to Ripley's Aquarium, Canada's Wonderland, Toronto Zoo, and more. Go to the website below to register. Hope to see you there, and now Victoria will present the jobs in Regent Park.
Thanks, Jabin. Jobs and trainings in Regent Park. Are you interested in media arts and broadcast journalism? Focus Media Arts Center is hiring summer community media broadcast journalists for Radio Region and Regent Park TV. Preferred candidates should have an interest in media arts and be familiar with the Regent Park area for 6 summer job positions from July 11, 2022 to August 26, 2022. 30 hours a week, 15 hourly. You will produce journalistic videos and radio podcasts, conduct interviews about issues in the neighborhood, and gain awesome new media skills. Registration is required, and residents of Regent Park are prioritized. To apply, please send a cover letter along with your resume to info@focusmediaarts.ca. Calling all Regent Park youth. The Lansdowne Cone is hiring for a summer job position as an ice cream server for your own community. Send a cover letter explaining why you'd be perfect for the role. Attach a resume if you've got one and submit it to thelansdowncone@gmail.com. YEY and BGC Toronto Kiwanis is hiring an experienced program coordinator who has knowledge of the Regent Park area to manage the Youth Empower Youth project. The coordinator will be responsible for convening the steering committee, supporting youth to lead the project, partnership development, project planning, and other youth-focused responsibilities. This is a full-time position for 9 months. Send your resume and cover letter to rpyouthempoweryouth@gmail.com by Friday, May 27th. The Center of Learning and Development is hiring 2 youth workers. This is an 8 weeks contract, 35 hours per week, $16.50 per hour, starting June 13th, 2022. The youth worker will be responsible for collaborating to provide co-design and coordination of the 2nd edition of a summer program for youth in secondary school from downtown east communities of Regent Park, St. Jamestown, and Moss Park. For general inquiries, please contact Mary at tccld.org. The deadline for applications is Friday, May 27th, 2022. The Center for Indigenous Theatre invites to apply for 3-year theatre arts training at the only school of its kind in Canada. Your stories, your voice. Start your journey. For details and where to apply, please visit indigenoustheatre.com. Application deadline, May 31st, 2022. The 519 is inviting you to Trans Youth Mentorship Program, TYMP. A space for trans youth 16 to 29 years old to build life skills, find support, and build community. Participants will learn lessons on anti-oppression, collective care, harm reduction, public speaking, conflict resolution, event planning, and cooking together. Every Wednesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. in person at the 519 Church Street. Register at the 519 tymp.eventbrite.ca. If you have questions, contact Doraya at the519.org. Applications for 2022 Humber scholarships are now open. Are you interested to pursue a career in public relations? Humber is offering several scholarships that are only available to Bachelor of Public Relations. The criteria for each of these scholarships are different, but most are based on an application as opposed to grades. Students can apply for scholarships between $2,000 and $3,000 who self-identifies as a racialized person and demonstrate financial need. To access the public relations specific scholarships, students must first apply to the program through the Ontario College's website, www.ontariocolleges.ca. The program code is 22221. The application is now open through the spring until it's full. If you need help, contact the Bachelor of Public Relations Program Coordinator, Anne-Marie Males at annemarie.males@humber.ca. And that's all for jobs and events in Regent Park. See you next week.
And that's all for today. My name is Radhia Ali, and my co-hosts are Fred, Jabin, and Victoria. We would like to thank our team for researchers that contributed for this week's show, and from our studios at Focus Media Arts Center, thanks for watching and see you next week.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the little notification bell so you never miss out on any of our content. If you'd also like more, you can find us on our other social media platforms. And if you want even more, you can look at our website.
Thank you.